Hello and welcome back to another installment of Poke Fodder, and today I want to go over what I believe is Cosmo Deck 2.0. Now if you think about it, and if you weren't here in February 2017 for the infancy of the Cosmo Deck, let me just give you a brief little history. What we had were the Deoxys forms were released in a banner along with Reuniclus and a plate called Cosmo Energy. What this did is it allowed the Deoxys forms to swap out, and it didn't matter when attacked. And it didn't matter if they were on the bench or on the field. Now that has since been nerfed and they have to be on the field, but in the first generation of the Cosmo deck, what opponents would do is on turn 1 they would trigger their Cosmo Energy plate. On turn 3 they would rush Deoxys Speed Form all the way down to threaten your goal. You then had two options. You could either attack or defend your goal. If you went to attack, depending on what you attacked with, they would either from the bench swap out to Deoxys Defense Form or Deoxys Attack Form. And it just put an insane amount of pressure on you and your goal. And I would say that if you weren't running a Cosmo Energy deck and you faced a Cosmo Energy deck, the best win percentage you could hope for would be like 35%. Like Slip wasn't weight 3. Slip was you slipped to the bench and you were free to move on the very next play. It was bad, and a lot of people quit because of Cosmo Energy. There were a handful of players that were really good out with non-Cosmo Energy decks. Listener, Kahinkyo both come to mind as being two of the better ones that I remember. But Cosmo decks were definitely the way to win in Pokemon Duel in February of 2017. One of those users who latched on to the Cosmo Energy deck was my buddy Supa. It's true. He is what I call a hoarder. He doesn't spend resources on anything, and when he does, he goes all in on a deck. And he went all in on the Cosmo Energy deck. And he was really good. He was, one of the top 10 Cosmo Energy deck players. Reached over 4K with the Cosmo Energy deck. Behind a handful of people, he was probably right there in that conversation for better Deoxys users. I, on the other hand, was not fortunate or unfortunate, depending on how you look at it, enough to actually have a full Cosmo Energy deck until long after the Deoxys heydays. Now we have a lot of counters for it, but being a Dio user, Supa has a great understanding of the deck and the switching and the matchups that are involved with it. And I'm going to tell you, when he sent me a screenshot of a deck that he was running, I called him evil and I told him don't ever play that deck against me. And I'm going to show you two games that he's played with the deck to give you an understanding of why I call it Cosmo Energy 2.0 or Cosmo Deck 2.0. Now, the variation that he uses includes 3 Deoxys Speed Forms, which is why I've dubbed that. But I have seen several people with the same type of build and deck as a rush deck that could be essentially the same thing. You don't have to use his exact same build, but you'll get the gist of it. Let me pull up the game ID of the first game and we'll go over what he's running. Okay, so as this loads up, I'm going to stop it right off the bat so we can go over Supa's deck, and you already know which one is his. So here's Supa going against a 3,500 opponent who is running Sableye, Coco, Hypno, Lunala, Cobalion, and Toxic. Supa, on the other hand, is running Deoxys Speed, Deoxys Speed, Deoxys Speed, Tapu Koko, Zora, and Zoroark. Now, if we look at this figure, it is a dark type figure with the ability of illusion. When this Pokemon is on the bench or is yet to engage in its first battle after moving onto the field, okay, and another one of your Pokemon that has not yet engaged in its first battle after moving to the field is attacked, before the battle, that Pokemon may switch places with this Pokemon. That sounds exactly like what I described the Cosmo Energy Plate as doing, but it doesn't have to be a Deoxys form in order for that to happen. So here we go. With the background in the Cosmo Energy deck, let's watch what Supa has in mind here. It's going to open up with Coco instead of using his plate. Going to throw Deoxys Speed Form down the lane. Deoxys Speed Form is already within striking distance of the goal. You attack with Tapu Koko, and that's not going to be a good play because you just switch out. Tapu Koko can't beat that, so there's no need to switch. Supa takes his Koko, takes the other entry point. Again, with the double chance from Tapu Koko. And we're going to switch out again. This time, we're going to bring Zora out. Zora gets the plus 50 because his opponent has an attack that has additional damage to it. And just like that. That is essentially what it was like facing a Cosmo deck in its infancy. Crazy stuff, right? I have one more that I want to go over, and I promise this one's going to take longer than the first one. It's not a 3-turn victory. So this game is against, I believe, a 3600 player as well. Yes, 3600. 2 Altarias, Coco, Dratini, Suicune, and Zapdos. This time, Supa's opponent goes and covers goal. But there's 2 Deoxys Speed Forms knocking on his door. Supa takes over an entry point. We are 6 turns into this match, and you've already lost 1 entry point. He goes ahead and attacks, and of course gets swapped out. Pear Song lands. Supa's opponent decides to go ahead and keep the curse marker on both figures. But again, Tapu Koko has a terrible matchup with Zoroark. Supa double chances because there's little risk in making this play. Attacks Tapu Koko, and as you would suspect, gets the knockout. We are now 8 turns into this game. We're going to call it 9 after a goal block of Altaria onto goal. We'll call it 10, and both your entries are already capped. Supa's opponent takes Dratini, attacks into Deoxys Speed. It gets swapped out. Dratini rolls miss. And you have 1 figure on the board. You've had 6 turns, 1 figure on the board. You've lost your rolls, and that's a good game. Like I said before, it doesn't have to be the Deoxys Speed Forms that are doing the damage. They are probably the best of the runners because of their ability to go from the bench to within 1 turn of capping goal. And remember, I've always said if you need to put your opponent on a clock, which is how many turns is it going to be before you take their goal if they don't react to you. And what Deoxys Speed Form is, it can put you on a clock of 1 from the bench. Now, it can be any runner deck, and I've seen a lot of runner decks built around the illusion ability. And what I want to know from you guys, because I'm not quite sure, how do you stop that deck? I know that you can use Lunala, you can use Solgaleo, because they're not going to allow your opponent to switch. But outside of those 2, I'm interested to know, what do you guys use to counter the mad illusion rush decks that are happening right now that I'm just going to call Cosmo Energy 2.0? Let me know in the comments below. The Orbital Hall did begin. Dark types are gaining plus 20 fairy types are gaining +1 MP. My initial thoughts are, Zapdos and Coco look like they're going to be pretty strong in this because you're going to need gold attacks. Everybody's going to be running Sableye. Coco and Zapdos are really nice counters to Sableye. Additionally, the Yveltal is nice for its ability to stop Ghost type, i.e. Sableye from moving 3 MP Sableyes from moving over any of your type figures. This might be a good gem for the Alolan Grimer. I believe it's going to gain an MP, making it 2 MP. Could be a nice niche play there. It's got some gold, a decent size attack, and other than that, just running some fairy types to stop all the Cocos that are going to be flying around. Coco's doing like 119 damage. That's insane. Maybe a Curlia or 2 mixed in there, Gardevoir, something in that neighborhood. I've played a handful of Orbital Hall matches, not even 5, so not even a handful. I've not yet seen the same deck twice, and just don't have a really good feel of what's going to be good synergies. You can put it in the comments below, or you can head over to my Discord. Put out the conversation there. I know people are speculating and talking about deck builds to get them through yet another Gym Cup, where, again, the rush is going to be real with a bunch of 3 MP and strong figures. 3 MP with ghost abilities are always difficult to deal with when we have these Gym Cups. So let me know in the comments below, or if you want to have a conversation about it, head over to my Discord, like I said before. Bring it up. I've got some absolutely amazing players that hang out that always have good advice to give and willing to share different deck builds, room matches, things of that nature. Also, my Gen 3 only tournament has reached the finals. I'm anticipating that being wrapped up before I leave, and I want to break down the gameplay and everything else from the championship match coming up this week before I leave town. Looking forward to that content. And other than that, man, it is Wednesday. I hope you guys are having a great week.